Hello friends. Today in this session I am going to cover 20 real-time questions of DP 900 for MS Azure Data Fundamental exam. So these questions would be helpful for certification exam. So let's cover all the 20 questions. So first question is, what type of analysis you will perform to extract employee names from thousands of PDFs? So it's having four options: prescriptive analysis, descriptive analysis, diagnostic analysis, and cognitive analysis. So let's cover what all these four analysis. First comes descriptive analysis. So descriptive analysis helps to answer questions about what has happened. Right? Suppose you have some data now. Through descriptive analysis, when we search like what has happened based on the data, that is called as descriptive analysis, and we look into the historical data, right? So this technique summarizes large data sets to describe outcomes to the stakeholders. Second comes diagnostic analysis. What is diagnostic analysis? Means why things happen, right? So we need to find the reason why. So in this technique, it's more about like take the findings from the descriptive analysis and then go deeper into to find the root cause. Then third comes prescriptive analysis. Prescriptive analysis says like what action should be taken to achieve a goal or target, right? So by using this insights, so we look into the data, and based on the data decisions can be made. And this technique helps to allow business to make more informative and to check like decision can be taken based on the data, right? Next is cognitive analysis. So cognitive analysis is it helps to draw inferences from existing data and patterns. So it derives conclusions based on the existing knowledge bases and then add findings back into the knowledge base for future inferences. So if you see that this analytics help to understand what might happen if circumstances change and how you might handle these situations, that is cognitive analysis, right? So if we look into this problem, what type of analysis you will perform to extract employee names from thousands of PDFs? So this is not going to be prescriptive. There is no such thing we can identify like what action need to be taken to achieve a goal, right? Regarding descriptive, so it's not going to be descriptive because we are not going to check like what has happened. Regarding diagnostic, we are not going to do the root cause analysis. If we look into the cognitive analysis, so cognitive analysis helps to draw inferences. So what do you think, what is the right answer? So right answer as per me is cognitive analysis. So this is the correct answer, because when we look into the employee names from thousands of PDF, then we need to we are just checking, we are understanding the inferences from the data and patterns. This is what we want to do, right? Okay, so next coming to second question. Second, in this question we have a JSON file, JSON document, right? So in JSON document we can look into like employee, F name, L name, these are the attributes, and then address is the object, wherein we have cities, country, then social media further, and we have other attributes within that. So now this problem says find right answer, and it's having three options. Employee is nested array. So we need to look into like whether employee is nested array, address is root object, social media is nested object. Second option is employee is nested array, address is nested object, social media is root object. And third option says employee is root object, address is nested object, and social media is nested array, right? So think about this, what is the right answer? So if we look into this, employee is the main, that is the root object, right? And these are the attributes. And if we look into address, this is nested object. Under that we have city and country and social media as well. And social media, this array, this is kind of nested array, it's having this bracket, right? So right answer is option C, which says employee is root object, address is nested object, social media is nested array. So next question is, these are the three different points. Why did sales increase last month? The rise of COVID-19 cases in the world. How do I allocate my budget to buy grocery items? And we have four different types of analysis which we covered in first question. So if we look into the short, like descriptive says like what's happening, diagnostic says why is happening, predictive says what will happen, and prescriptive says what action should be taken. Right now we are talking about why did sales increase last month. This is why means diagnostic analysis. So in this case, with A, third is matching, like diagnostic analysis. Then rise of COVID-19 cases in the world, right? So this says like predictive analysis, because whatever past data is, now we need to see like how rise will happen in next 6 months, right? So that would be predictive analysis. Third, C point is how do I allocate my budget to buy grocery items, right? So if you look into that, it means what action should be taken, right? If suppose my budget increase, then what action should be taken? So that would be prescriptive analysis. So in this case, which one is the right answer? Like why did sales increase last month? This is diagnostic. Rise of COVID-19 cases in the world, this is prescriptive. And sorry, rise of COVID-19 cases in the world, that is predictive. And how do I allocate budget? This is prescriptive. So it looks that second is the right answer, 2 is the right answer. With A, it's 3. The next question is select the right statements for a relational database. 4 options are given here. Data is stored in CSV files in blob storage. Second point is database prevents deletion of parent record if child record exists. Third option is foreign key. Fourth option is you can create relationship between multiple tables. So you can select multiple options in this exam. So first part is data is stored in CSV files in blob storage. It does not mean anything with relational database, right? Database prevents deletion of parent record if child record exists. Yes, this happens if there is primary foreign key relationship, right? In master, in suppose one table we have primary key, and there is a relation between two tables where in child table it would be foreign key, right? So in that case, for integrity perspective, if suppose child record is existing, then parent record cannot be deleted. So this is the right answer. Second point is correct. Foreign key, yeah, that indicates relationship. Fourth point is you can create relationship between multiple tables. Yeah, there is no limit. You can create relationship between multiple tables. So except one, I think all the rest options are the right answer. Next question is using expenses table, write SQL query to get the output as shown in the output table. So expenses table is having 3 different columns: date, item, amount, right? And now let's look into the output. Output is showing date and amount, and it seems that on the basis of date it has grouped the data. Yeah. So now how to check that? First row, first option is saying select date amount from expenses group by date through. No, date through is not a right thing, right? Group by, it should be group by date. Then second is select date item sum amount from expenses group by date. So item, we need not to show the item, because as per output, it's having only date and amount, right? And so I think, so as per this output, second option is not correct. Let's go to third option. Select date, sum amount from expenses group by date. Yes, this is correct answer, grouping on the date, and we are just giving output in date and sum of amount, right? And fourth option is select item sum amount from expenses group by date. So in this we are showing item. No, we have to show date because grouping is on the date, and as per the output it's date and amount. So third option is the correct one. Next question is a relational database must be used when it's having 4 options: storing large volume of data. Second is storing consistency guarantee required. Third option is data stored in sorted order. Fourth option is no schema is required. So first says storing large volume of data. So it's not such kind of thing in relational database. Second is strong consistency guarantee required. Yes, that is correct. There is relationship between multiple tables and that consistency should be there, and it guarantees for that consistency, right? Third is data are stored in sorted order. No, it's not such kind of thing in relational database, right? We if required we make it in sorted order, but it's not any feature of relational database. Fourth is no schema is required. No, this is wrong, because schema is there, right? So if we see out of these 4 options, only second option is correct, strong consistency guarantee required. right? So this is the correct answer. Let's go to 7th question. Dash is used to access data stored in Azure storage account. So four options are SQL Server Management Studio, SQL Server Data Tools, third is Azure Storage Explorer, and Azure Data Studio. So in this, correct answer is Azure Data Studio. So what is Azure Data Studio? Azure Data Studio supports platforms like Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. It is a graphical utility which is used to create and run SQL queries, and this you can run from your desktop as well. So it handles cross-platform database tool for data professionals, wherein we can use on-prem or cloud data platforms on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So its correct answer is Azure Data Studio, which is used to access the data stored in Azure storage account. So eighth question is batch workloads dash. So it's having four options. First is collect data and then process when a condition is met. Second is process the data in real time. Third is process data in memory row by row. And fourth is collect and process data at most daily. So collect data and then process when a condition is met. So we know that buffering and processing the data in groups is called batch processing, right? So in batch processing, newly arriving data elements are collected into a group, right? And after some time interval, then that group is processed, right? So if we see that first option is correct, because collect data and then process when a condition is met. This is actually batch workload, right? And second option says process the data in real time. That is not correct for batch processing, because when we process the data in real time, it is as it arrives is at the same time we are processing, which is called as streaming. Next option is process data in memory row by row, right? So it's not necessary to process data in memory row by row, like, right? So when it is in memory, so right, so in that case, in case of batch, we are just keeping the data, making the batch, and then processing, right? So row by row, like one by one, it's not part of batch workload. Next option is collect and process data at most daily, right? So data in batch processing, data can be processed based on some predefined condition. It's not uh, like only, it's not that daily we have to process, it's based on the when condition met. So correct answer is first answer. So next question is match the appropriate form. So these are four points wherein its description is given on right hand side. So dynamic data masking. So what is dynamic data masking? First of all, dynamic data masking prevents unauthorized access to sensitive data. So how it does? By enabling customers to designate how much of the sensitive data can be revealed with minimal impact on the application layer. So overall, it's a policy-based security feature, and which hides the sensitive data and to the designated database fields, right? So while data in the database is not changed, so when data is in the database is not changed, in that case, it sets the just it hides the sensitive data, right? So it's overall based on the policy-based security. So if we look into the right side options, right? So dynamic data masking. So used to encrypt data at rest, including database, logs, and backup without requiring changing to the application. Used to protect sensitive data by limiting access to data at rest in movement, and in use to client application that have appropriate access to keys. Used to encrypt data in motion between database, server, and client using certificate-based authentic encryption. So in dynamic data masking, it's overall it says policy based security feature, right? So there is policy which is based on certificate. So for dynamic data masking, C is the right, a third is the right answer. Used to encrypt data in motion between the database servers and clients using certificate based encryption. Okay, and let's come to second point, transparent data encryption. So if we see like what is transparent data encryption? Transparent data encryption encrypts SQL Server, Azure SQL database, Synapse Analytics data files, and this encryption also known as encrypting data at rest, right? And it also does real-time input-output encryption, decryption of data and log files, and it follow many rules, many regulations, guidelines which are established in the which is already defined there, right? So transparent data encryption, for this If you look into first option, used to encrypt data at rest, yes, including database, logs and backup without requiring changes to the application. So first option is the correct option for the transparent data encryption. Third is always encrypted. Always encrypted, its name says that data at rest include information that resides in persistent storage, and that is if you see, and that data is always encrypted in encryption model, right, including server side encryption, or and also it uses service managed keys and customer managed keys in key vault, right? So if we look into this option, always encrypted, so in that case fourth is correct, used to limit exposure of sensitive data to non-privileged users by designing how much of the sensitive data can be revealed, right? So for third, it's last, used to limit exposure. And last is transport layer. Transport layer says that it keeps data secure when being transferred over a network, right? So TLS is like industry standard protocol, and that ensures that encrypted network connection between the database and the client application is there, and based on the compliance requirement, it follows that. So for transport, now we have second option left, used to protect sensitive data by limiting access to data at rest in moment and in use to application, client application that have appropriate access to keys. Yes, this is the correct option. So if we look into the mapping, like dynamic data masking, it is used to encrypt data in motion between the database servers and client using certificate based encryption. That is correct. Transparent data, whatever data is in the rest, used to encrypt the data. This is used for database logs and synapse, right, without need to change the application. Third is always encrypted, that is always encrypted and not allowing non-privileged users to access the data, right? Fourth is transport layer, which is to protect the sensitive data by limiting access to the data and client and server application by using access to keys, right? So these are the combinations, which is the correct combination. So next question is match the appropriate pairs. A database object whose content is defined by a query. A database object that help to improve data retrieval time. Database object that holds data. And three options on the right hand side is view, table and index. So table, wherein we have data in the database is stored in the form of table, that is table, right? It's row column form. So if we look into like a database object that holds data, like C matches with the to table, database object that holds data, right? And then what is view actually? If we see that view is the virtual table, right? Virtual table which is used, whatever data is required we are keeping in the view, right? And taking data from the table and putting it into the view, right? And like for example, suppose we need some data from order table, then we take that data based on our requirement, and then if need to add more columns there, some calculation needs to be there, we can put it into the view, right? So let's look into the correct option for view. If we see a database object whose content is defined by a query, this is the first point. And second point says a database object that helps to improve data retrieval time. So first is the right, like with A, one is mapped, right? So a database object whose content is defined by a query. Then what is index? If we see, index is helpful to search the data fast, and this is helpful to improve the data retrieval time, right? So with B, index is matching with, it means with B it's 3. So let's look into the correct option. So with A, like database object whose content is defined by a query is matching with view. Then a database object that helps to improve data retrieval time, this is index. A database object that holds data is the table. Next question is, which is the correct statement about non-relational database, right? So if we look into like non-relational database means which is schema free, right? And uh, three options are non-relational databases require you to use data normalization techniques to reduce data duplication, right? And second option says non-relational databases contains tables with flat column records. And third option says that non-relational databases are either schema free or have relaxed schema. So third is the correct answer, because in non-relational database it's schema free, right? And if you look into first option talks about the normalization, right, which is invalid for the non-relational database. Second option talks about that it contains table with flat column records. No, we don't have tables, right, in non-relational. So third option is the correct option. So next question is, which type of processing is needed when data is read from data warehouse for quality assurance? So four options are stream processing, batch processing, online transaction processing and online analytical processing. Right. So if we look into these options, so which type of processing is needed when data is read from data warehouse for quality assurance? For quality assurance, if we see that online analytical processing, because this technology organizes large business database and support complex analysis, and that complex analysis is helpful for the quality assurance, and it also checks like uh, what is the overall analysis for the business perspective without any negative impact on the transactional system. So correct answer is online analytical processing. So next question is, an ETL process requires four options are there: a target database powerful enough to transform data. Second option is data is fully processed before being loaded to the target database. Third option is that the data target to be relational database. Fourth option is a matching schema in that data source and the data target. So if we see what is the ETL, ETL is the extract, transform and load, which is a data pipeline used to collect data from various sources, transform it and data according to the business rules and load it into the destination data store. So data should be fully processed before you load into the target system. So this is ETL, right? So if we see that all the options, that first option says target database powerful enough to transform data. So this is incorrect because transformation step in the ETL process is executed by the ETL layer, not the target system. Second is if we see that data that is fully processed before being loaded to the target database. So this is the second option. Yeah, this is correct option because data is fully processed before being loaded to the target database in ETL process. Third is data target to be relational database. No, there is no such kind of rule. And source and target system data store can be relational, can be NoSQL, can be semi-structured or unstructured. Right. So third is incorrect. Fourth is a matching schema in that data source and the data target. So this fourth option says, so both needs to be matching. So destination may not be the same type of data source as the source database because we can format in different way, right? So data need to be shaped or cleaned before loading into the final destination. So fourth is not correct. So correct answer is 2. So next question is, you manage an application that stores data in a shared folder on Windows Server. You need to move the shared folder to Azure storage. Which type of Azure storage should you use? Right, and we need to manage application that stores data in shared folder on Windows Server. So in this case, options are file, blob, table, and queue. So correct answer is file. Reason is Azure Files enables you to set up highly available network file share, and that can be accessed from any other like server, right? This means that if we have multiple VMs, then we can share one file in multiple VMs. If we talk about blob, so blob is incorrect in this case because blob is storage, right? It does not support shared folders, so it's not a right option. Then table, so table storage is used to store NoSQL data in tabular format, right? And fourth option is queue, and queue service is used to store and retrieve messages, so it's not a right option here. So correct answer is file. So next question is question number 15. A dash statement is used to include another column in the table schema in a relational database, and options are alter, delete, update and modify. We need to include another option. So another column which we need to add, that is through alter command, right? So by using alter command we can add a column, right? And insert cannot be here. Insert is delete is used to delete the record, and update is used to update some value, right? And then other thing is modify is not used in the table, right? So alter is the right answer. Next question is, what setting you will apply at container level in Azure Cosmos DB account using core SQL API? So if you see that the API partition key, the throughput and read region. So if we see, if you remember in container, right? So we have in container, we can apply two things. One is partition key and other is the throughput. Let's look into the correct answer, partition key and throughput. We can look into the screenshot here that when we add a container, it asks for throughput, right? This is the throughput and partition key. So these two are the correct answers, right? There is no such API or read region. So next question is question number 17. Relational data uses dash to enforce the relationships between table. So relationships between tables can be created through keys, right? So correct answer is keys here, because primary key, foreign key, we have to maintain within the two tables to have that relationship, right? Partition is not there. Schema, through schema we do not maintain relationship, and lock is only for transaction perspective. We do not maintain relationship through lock. So correct answer is keys here. So you can look into this diagram that in two tables we can maintain relationship by using keys. Next question is select the correct statement. Azure SQL database includes a fully managed backup services. Second is Azure SQL database uses Azure advanced threat protection. Third is Azure SQL database has built-in high availability. So these are the three things. Let's first understand what are the these three statements saying. Azure SQL database includes a fully managed backup service, means it is fully managed database service, which means that Microsoft operates SQL Server for you and ensure its availability and performance, right? And this is correct, right? Second statement says that Azure SQL database has built-in high availability. This is third point, which says that Azure SQL database highly availability means it's always available, kind of, right? And yes, this is correct, because we have options to make it always available. Second point says Azure SQL database uses Azure Advanced Threat Protection, right? So it provides a go-to location for discovering, classifying and protecting sensitive data, right? If you see in threat protection, it manages database vulnerability, anomalies, right? And it also indicate that if there is any threat to the database. Second point is also covered, also correct. So all the 3 points are correct, because Azure SQL database maintains all the three: backup service, threat protection and high availability. So all the three options can be are covered here. So all the three are correct. Now next question is question number 19. It says which of the following Azure services can be used to provision Apache Spark clusters. So we have gone through the course and it's written there. It's already said that Spark cluster, Apache Spark cluster, provisioning of Apache Spark cluster, we need Azure Databricks and Azure HD Insight as a environment, right? So Azure Time Series Insights not required, Azure Log Analysis not required. So its correct answer is Databricks and Azure HD Insights, first and fourth. So last question is which option is used to create primary key in relational database? Employee name? No, employee name can be duplicate, right? Two persons can have same name. Employee address? No. So for creating primary key, there should be some ID, right? A mobile number cannot be. So employee ID is the correct answer, which is used to create primary key, and that can be uniquely identify each record, each row. So every table should have a primary key, right? And that primary key we can use to create a relationship between tables. So employee ID is the correct answer. Yeah. So we have covered 20 questions. Hope this would be helpful to do practice enough. And these are the real-time questions. So we have created some bunch of questions from different papers, right? And these questions would be helpful for you to practice for exam. Thank you. Thanks for watching this video.